Good evening guys, and welcome to this evening's vlog. It is episode 3 now, I believe, of our spooky series. Adventures of Paul is with me again. We have another guest joining us shortly. Today's episode brings us to the town area of Milton Keynes. Although they like to disassociate themselves with us, this is the area of Newport Pagnell. Behind me is the mural of the very lovely Leah Williamson. She is the England women's football captain, those who won the cup the other year. She was born and brought up in the area. She went to Ousdale School, but that's a totally different matter. That's just sort of saying the area where we are. There is an association with football with this town. Newport Pagnell, I think it's 2 years on the bounce, got to the FA Vars. They lost it last year but won it for the first time the year before that. But anyway, I digressed. Let's get on and do some spooky stuff. Yeah, so we're in Newport Pagnell, the home of Aston Martin. Those of you who know of James Bond and his famous motors. This area is synonymous with that. It also holds the oldest iron bridge in the country that works. I think that's something like 1810. Now, years ago, this town would have regular visits from a guy named Bill Cody. Now, Bill Cody, just another name to you and me, but his name he went by was Buffalo Bill, and he used to have a travelling Western show. Now, if any of you have ever been to Disneyland Paris, basically that is based on what he used to do around here. But he was a travelling show, used to go around the whole of the UK visiting local towns, putting on a show with these Native American Indians, and do your classic Western type stuff, shoot ups, horse wrangling, etc., cowboy memorabilia type things. They just sort of keep that era going. But that has nothing to do with why we're here today, because this evening I have 4 significant stories to tell of haunts. Well, actually there's 2 ghosts, a ghoul and a poltergeist. The Coachmaker's Arms over there, believed to be one of the most haunted pubs in all of Great Britain, but it does not feature in our 4 ghostly stories tonight. So this is the high street of Newport, and this is kind of where our story begins. I want to say kind of because it's in an alleyway that leads off to the back of where the old Cannon pub was, or still is. Okay, our first story starts here. These are going to be a session of short stories put together. But this little alleyway that leads down the side of where the Cannon pub is, you have these 2 houses. Well, they're kind of apartment flat type things. This first one here to my left is where my sister lived in the late 80s into the early 90s. It was sort of pretty much, you go through the door, there's a short flight of steps, no windows on this side apart from these 2 little sort of opening airloft things. Then you'd have the bedroom to the right, kitchen, bathroom and the lounge. Now, during, I think it was the autumn months, similar to what we're in now, my sister noticed like it felt like a knock on the door, but it's like a rattling, to be honest with you. Do you know, like if you've got a letterbox that is loose and the wind catches it and it sort of flickers, very gentle rattling. So she just sort of, she'd put the rubbish out and she looked up in this general direction, and just as the corner turns there, she see like a dishevelled figure, monkly, like, not monkey but monk, you know, like priest, that sort of description, hunched over, and he had a pale grey disposition. And she just remembered that she looked at him, he turned round, looked at her. She see a really weird coloration in his eyes. It was like an off-white, almost yellowish colour. And so she followed him up to here to ask him what he was doing. She was probably maybe 20-30 paces behind him, and as she reached this point here, she turned left to the direction he was going, and she followed him down this way, and where the corner point meets over there where the church is, he just vanished into thin air. Now people will turn around and say this could possibly have been a ghost, but she believed it's a ghoul. Now the difference between a ghoul and a ghost is that ghosts are obviously apparitions that people see. A ghoul is someone that, or should we say something, that consumes the dead, devours their body once it's been disposed of, and takes on their identity, and also takes their possessions if they have any. And it is believed to this day that there is a monk that frequents this area. Now make of that what you will, whether it was a ghost, whether it was a ghoul, but I'm not going to argue with my sister. I can't now, obviously, because she died in January. But it just seems strange that there are stories of a monk frequenting this area, and she never knew anything about it, but she just said, did you see it? Moving on into a bizarre story about a poltergeist which is believed to frequent number 38 over there, directly in front of us. Now basically what is said to have happened on numerous occasions is objects to have moved themselves around the building, things flying off tables, and they believe it's frequented by a poltergeist. The reason this is, I don't know, because it is said that poltergeists do not haunt buildings, they haunt people. They're more mischievous and they have more of a physical presence, so whereas a ghost you might see it, a poltergeist can physically touch you or bite you or dare say scare the bejesus out of you. But yep, the vintage emporium over there is believed to be frequented by a poltergeist. So whether you can imagine things flying off the shelf in there, or perhaps even, should we say, falling off the shelf, it could be as simple as someone stacked it incorrectly. But there is supposed to be video evidence. I have seen stuff where I can't neither turn around and say it's accurate or someone's made it up, etc., but it all happened in here and upstairs in here. It's always good to walk down the alleyways, especially when you're doing something spooky. It just adds that ambience that you need when you're trying to bring stories to life. I said a lot of this stuff could be put down as hearsay or old wives' tales or stories that have just gone on with generations, but I'm not going to deny the one about that my sister's turned around and said, because obviously she's no longer with us. And there's other things such as the poltergeist. There is, well, you could turn around and say there's evidence unidentified on the internet. So it is up to us individually to make our own minds up on these things. Okay, our story now finds us on an old toll bridge that leads out of Newport Pagnell and up to Sheringham. Now, the toll bridge itself goes back a long time. I'm not sure how long exactly it goes back, but the purpose of the toll bridge is, obviously you can see it's very dark out there, but there's a huge expanse of water, and back in the day you're talking horse and cart, so you've got a choice. You make your way through the water pretty much like Constable's Haywain and get stuck, or you pay the toll and go across the bridge. Now our story, I don't know how it happened, but it's believed that there is a ghost of a burning woman. She must have been in some sort of fire or some sort of altercation, But she is supposed to frequent this bridge for the sole purpose of what is below. Obviously, because she's burning, she is seeking water, and we are surrounded by a plethora of water. The rivers have burst their banks, and this is the reason why the burning woman is led to believe to be in these fields and on this bridge in the evening hours. The chances of seeing her are pretty rare and pretty obscure, to be honest with you, and it goes down to one of these folklore stories again that you may either believe or not believe. It comes down to your own personal perception. We find ourselves at the back, possibly even the front of the Church of St Peter's and St Paul's. We're going to make our way down, see if there's any activity at all frequented within the graveyard, as that is what we do. But this is a magnificent church. Look at the way it lights up. Stunning. People are very wicked, you know. Yeah. They've got no respect for the dead. No, that's what people are like, unfortunately. So, yep, these are very, very old. Some say unkempt, but it does look as if the area has had the grass cut, etc. But these are spooky graveyards. And we know how everybody loves me and Paul walking through a spooky graveyard. This is very reminiscent of some of your larger ones in London, some of the ones up even in Scotland. But I find these, it's not a macabre thing at all, it's really, really beautiful. You have to really be into these sort of things to appreciate it. Yeah. Trust me, there's not so much the spooky things that are going to come up to us out here. It's more maybe someone who's down on their luck, who's sleeping rough. But look at that, look at the growth on that. That is beautiful. Just see the way that the creepers have taken over the grave. All the vine creepers growing over the top of it. Yes. It's got its own certain beauty to it. The time has pretty much ripped these graves apart. This isn't mindless vandalism, this is the earth shifting. The problem you get whenever you bury someone on a slope, which is the problem you find in the films such as, I think it's Poltergeist, or some of these Living Dead films, etc., that they built graves on hillsides or slopes, and as the land erodes, the body that is maybe 6 foot below this is no longer here, but maybe where that tree is now, as they slide down. It really is bizarre. I hope you guys are enjoying yet another adventure out. This is good when you get the eeriness of perhaps a fog added to it, and then maybe a creature like a fox, because you ever hear a fox scream at night, it's absolutely awful. Yeah. You know, see what I mean? Like that's not done by, that's natural.
So I can see around.
Let's make our way back over to terra firma over here. It's just a bit soft underfoot, to be honest with you. Nothing else really more than that. Oh, he's alright, he's brave enough, he's done this loads of times. But he certainly give off the vibes of kind of Highgate, the way the graves are on top of each other. And some are extremely old. Here we go, another example of what they call, some people call them vampire graves, but it's not, it's the grated graves to stop out your grave robbers. I don't know whether it happens so much around this area. I guess it was probably rife throughout the country. Remembering what the likes of Burke and Hare did, they would start with getting the cadaver as fresh as possible to take to the physicians, the surgeons, so they could practice, and that's how modern medicine came about. But also, when those bodies dried up in a certain area, they frequented to making their own dead bodies by going out and murdering people. Look at that. That is stunning. Eerie, but quite beautiful. Never known the purpose of this being like a hill area at the top. Maybe it's a significant family plot. I imagine that would be a mass, kind of like a mausoleum, an entire family entombed in there. And don't worry guys, I pay the utmost of respect as I'm walking around here. You will not find me treading on a grave. In some respects, because I like to, I know it might come across as bizarre, I kind of like to talk and communicate with them. Maybe it's a release mechanism of me trying to talk to my sister. I don't know. There's so many things it could be. It's sometimes best not to second guess. There's something out there moving, and it's not human. Possibly a fox. He just sort of hurried away around the side there. There will of course be foxes, badgers, etc. around here. Could even have been a squirrel. Oh, I would have thought this time of night they would have been safely tucked up in bed. Well guys, we got some serious flooding going on here. And you know what, there will probably be graves underneath that lot there. See the water level. Nothing like a spooky tunnel around the bottom end of a graveyard. This has always fascinated me, to wonder what was kept in these areas. This was an original bridge work. There's one further on that is actually virtually at ground level now, which was your original bridge that went through from Sheringham to Newport. It's over the back there somewhere. Whether we can get to it or not, with the ground being so flooded, I'm not sure. Right, our last story of the evening comes from Tickford Street Bridge. Now this bridge, as you can see there, 1810, this is the oldest steel bridge in the whole of the UK that's working. Ironically, the last time I come here, which was during the day, it wasn't working, but it is now. It's open to traffic, so you can see from the water level how badly flooded the area is. I believe it's the River Ouse. But anyway, this area is supposed to be frequented by the ghost of the whispering child. Now the story that goes behind is that a child playing around, probably with a small net, etc., trying to get your sticklebacks, your little fishes, etc., slipped below the surface of the water and was never seen again. And it is believed that you just get a gentle whispering voice. No apparitions, nothing to see, just a voice that comes about. The problem we've got at the moment is there's a group of youths to the left, there's people walking about, so it's not perfectly quiet, and there's traffic about. So maybe on a foggy late evening, early morning hours, you frequent this walking bridge that goes parallel, and you see the flood, the reflection of the lights on the water where it's so flooded it's burst its banks. But this area here and the reed area that goes on to the graveyard of the Church of St Peter's and St Paul's in the foreground over there, the ghost of the whispering child and her voice roams here. I've not been down this alley for somewhere in the region of 2 decades probably. It does look fantastic though. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for this evening's vlog. Hope you've been entertained by it. For sure it's one of those things where you've got to make your own mind up, your own sort of like a guessing game. Did it actually happen or not? I can't be sure. A lot of this stuff is stuff that I've read into, looked up on the internet, heard stories from other people, obviously my sister, which I'm certainly never going to doubt, and it all comes together in a combination to bring you a few short stories in a pretty special place. My sister lived here for probably the best part of a decade, I believe. Late 80s, early 90s, before she moved on again. Now she's sadly no longer with us, and it's with her I do these sort of tribute things of going out and finding the spooky places. But I've enjoyed it. Poltergeist, not something to be messed with, to be honest with you. Used to the ghouls and the ghosts, etc. The sort of things that frequent the night. And we've got something lined up next week, possibly, depending on the weather. If the weather's not so good, we'll probably change our minds and go somewhere else. But with that, I've got a big one coming up in London, 4 vlogs in a day, Disney store, Disney exhibition, 100 years, Winter Wonderland at Hyde Park, and the Christmas lights down Oxford Street, Regent Street, etc. That's going to come with Rachel on Saturday. And with that guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to Prince for joining us this evening. Hope you've had a great time, and we'll see you next time. And you guys, thanks for watching. See you in the movies. Bye for now.